welcome to this new course that I'm starting called Photography Fundamentals. And what we're going to cover in this course are the basics of photography, learning how to operate your DSLR, and to give you the confidence to know what you're doing when you go out to shoot. I'm specifically making this course for my niece Rachel, who is 13 and wants to learn photography. But I would highly recommend this course for anyone, specifically moms who want to learn how to use their DSLRs to take photos of their families, or anyone that just wants to learn how to take beautiful pictures. My first thought in this course is to start where you are. You do not need a professional lens. You do not need expensive equipment. Start with what you have. If you do not have a DSLR and you want to take this course, reach out to a friend that might have an old one they're not using right now. See if you can borrow it just to learn the fundamentals. And then once you really start enjoying the process, then you know you can invest in something that works for you. Start right where you are with what you have. My second thought is have fun. The whole idea of photography can seem like a foreign language. So just starting out, you can be really overwhelmed with the amount of information thrown at you. So remember, it's a process. It takes time to learn. Do these exercises that will help you to familiarize yourself with the camera. And just remember, show yourself some grace. This is a learning process, and it's supposed to be fun. Photography is a form of art. Once you learn the fundamentals, what works for some, you may decide you like to do it a totally different way because you like different results. One of the most important things about photography is learning how to adapt to any given situation. Depending on where you are and what you're doing, the light is going to change. So one day you might be outside taking photos and it's bright and sunny. The next day it might be like it is today, where it's hazy and overcast because there's a lot of smoke in the sky. I want you to be more confident in your ability to take beautiful photos in any given situation. For your DSLR, you are looking at your exposure triangle, ISO, shutter speed, and aperture. ISO, I am taking what light is available and digitally magnifying that light. So with each photo, it's getting brighter and brighter. But because it's a dark setting, every time it gets brighter and brighter, I am losing detail and I'm adding grain or noise to the photo. Your shutter speed is literally the shutter that opens and closes to allow light in to the sensor. Now, depending on how fast that is, you can either freeze action or blur action. Now, whether that's water coming down from a waterfall and you want it to look nice and silky, so you really slow down your shutter and it totally blurs out all the movement of the water so it looks nice and soft, that's an intentional use of a slow shutter. The opposite would be you want to freeze the action. You don't want their arms and legs to be blurry, so that you can grab that moment and you can see the action that's happening, the movement that's happening. So watch right here and you're going to see the shutter release. Really, really fast. So that is 80. So this is going to feel like ages, but this is how long your shutter would be open if you did it for a whole second. Now, I don't know if you could see, but I moved like this during that time. And all that's doing is causing blur that whole time. So if you do need to work with long shutter speeds because you're working in a dark atmosphere, or you really want to capture motion blur and you need to slow that shutter speed down, you want to use a tripod. If you're not using a tripod, you will notice a ton of unintentional blur just from the little movements, whether it's clicking the shutter or you're breathing, but it's very hard to hold still for anything more than about 1/5 of a second. Okay, the last element I want to discuss with you is your aperture. Now, your aperture is how wide open your lens is going to be, how much light it's going to let open. So that is represented with an f-stop. So the biggest open your aperture can go is actually the smallest number. So on this particular lens, it's a 4. If you're working on a standard lens that your camera came with, it's probably like an f5.6. So if you want to create a very shallow depth of field, meaning you have one small portion of your photo in focus and you want the background to be really blurry, that's shallow depth of field. That's when you want to use a wide open aperture like f5.6 or as low as your lens will go. Now, if you start using higher numbers, landscape photography, where you want more of the elements in your photo to be in focus, so you're widening that plane, you're creating a broader depth of field so more things will be in focus. That's a tiny little hole. That's at like f16 plus. And what I want you to do for your very first exercise is to take something very simple, whether that's a flower or maybe some pencils in a cup. I want you to take something and take a photo of it, practicing the depth of field. I want you to use aperture priority mode, take it down as low as it will go, get down on eye level with that object, and take the photo. Then I want you to take your aperture up higher, go up to f10, then take the photo again. Then I want you to take it up even higher to f16 or f20, 22, then take it again. And then I want you to pull the photos up side by side so you can really see the difference between the different depths of field. So when you're in aperture priority mode, your shutter speed is going to be set by your camera. Now, you may have to adjust your ISO. So if you're in a very bright, sunny area, then you're going to want to drop your ISO down very low, maybe 100 or 200. If you're in the shade or inside your home, then you're probably going to need to bump that up. Try to get to an area taking a photo where you have some decent sunlight, because you really want to keep your ISO between 100 and 1600. If you've got a nicer camera, then maybe 3200. But that's really the highest you want to go. Otherwise, you're going to start adding noise or grain to your photo. And that is it for our first lesson. I hope you're excited to take this next step in your photography journey. If you have any specific questions, please post them in the comments. You can always get a hold of me on Instagram at capture.create.explore. Thanks so much for joining me. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe, because I will be posting new videos each week to help you develop your photography skills. I will also have some printables on my website that I will link below. Thanks, friends. Have a great day.